Harry Potter Chapter 6 Their Journey from Platform 9 and 3/4. Harry last month with Dursley wasn't fun. True, Dudley was now so scared of Harry he wouldn't stay in the same room, while Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, force him to do anything or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. Half terrified, half furious, they act as through any chair with Harry in it was empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become a bit displeasing after a while. Harry kept his room with his new owl for company. He had decided to call her Hedwig, a name he had found in a history of magic. His school book was very interesting. He lay on his bed, reading late into night, Hedwig swooping in and out of the open window as she pleased. It was lucky that Aunt Petunia didn't come in Hoover anymore, because Hedwig kept bringing up dead mice. Every night before he went to sleep, Harry ticked off another day to this piece of paper he had pinned to the wall, counting down to September the 1st day. September the 1st. On the last day of August, he thought he would better speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King Cross Station next day. So he went down to the living room where they were watching a quiz show on the television. He cleared his throat to let them know he was there, and Dudley screamed and ran away from the room. Uncle Vernon? Uncle Vernon grunted to show he was listening. I need to be at King Cross tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Would it be all right if you gave me a lift? Grunt. Harry supposed that mean yes. Thank you. He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to wizard school. The train, magic carpet, all got punctured, have they? Harry didn't say anything. Where is this school anyway? I don't know, said Harry, realizing this was for the first time he pulled the ticket Hagrid had given him out of the pocket. I'll take the train from platform 9 and 3/4 at 11 o'clock, he read. His aunt and uncle stared. Platform what? 9 and 3/4. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There's no platform 9 and 3/4. It's on my ticket. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Howling mad, the lots of them. You'll see, you just wait. All right, we'll take you to King Cross. We're going up to London tomorrow anyway, or I won't bother. Why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Talking Dudley to hospital? Growled Uncle Vernon. Got to have the rooty tail removed before he goes to smelting. Harry woke at 5 o'clock the next morning and was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep. He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to talk in the station in his wizard robes, and he would change on the train. He checked his Hogwarts list yet again to make sure he had everything he needed. Saw that Hedwig was shut safely in her cage, and then paced the room, waiting for the Dursley to get up. 2 hours later, Harry's huge, heavy trunk had been loaded into the Dursley cars. Aunt Petunia had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry, and they had set off. They reached King Cross at 10:30. Uncle Vernon jumped Harry's trunk on the trolley and wheeled it into the station for him. Harry thought this was strangely kind until Uncle Vernon stopped dead, facing the platform with a nasty grin on his face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform shouldn't be somewhere in the middle. They don't seem to have built it yet, do they? He was quite right, of course. There's the big plastic number 9 over one platform and big plastic number 10 over the one next to it. In the middle, nothing at all. Having a good term, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without another word. Harry turned and saw the Dursley drive away. All 3 of them were laughing. Harry's mouth went rather dry. What on earth was he going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hedwig. He would have to ask someone. He stopped a passing guard, but didn't dare mention platform 9 and 3/4. The guard had never heard of Hogwarts, and when Harry couldn't even tell him what part of the country it was in, he started to get annoyed, as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked for the train that left on 11 o'clock, but the guard said there wasn't one, and the guard strode away, muttering about the time waster. Harry was not trying hard not to panic. According to the larger clock over the arrival board, he had 10 minutes left to get on the train to Hogwarts, and he had no idea how to do it. He was stranded in the middle of the station with a trunk he could hardly lift it, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something you had to do, like tapping the third brick on the left to get into Diagon Alley. He wondered if he would get out his wand and started tapping the ticket box between platform 9 and 10. At that moment, a group of people passed by him, and he caught a few words they were saying, "Packed with the muggles, of course." Harry swung around. The speaker, the plump woman who was talking to the 4 boys, all with flaming red hairs. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry in front of him, and they had an owl. Hard hammering, Harry pushed his trolley after them. They stopped, and so did he, just near enough to hear what they were saying. "Now, what's the platform number?" said the boy's mother. 9 3/4, said a pip small girl, also red hair, who was also holding her hand. "Mom, can't I go?" "You're not old enough, Jenny. Now be quiet. All right, Percy, you go first." What looked like the oldest boy marched toward platform 9 and 10. Harry watched carefully not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the divide between the two platforms, a large crowd of tourists came swarming in front of him, and by the time the last rucksack had cleared away, the boy had vanished. "Fred, you next," said the plump woman. "I'm not Fred, I'm George," said the boy. "Honestly, woman, call yourself our mother. Can't you tell I'm George?" "Sorry, George, dear. Only joking. I'm Fred," said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done, because a second later he had gone. But how had he done it? Now the third brother was walking briskly toward the ticket barrier. He was almost there, and then quite suddenly he wasn't anywhere. There was nothing else for it. "Excuse me," Harry said to the plump woman. "Hello, dear," she said. "First time at Hogwarts. Ron's new too." She pointed at the last and youngest of her son. He was tall, thin, and gangling, with freckled, big hands and feet, and a long nose. "Yes," said Harry. The thing is, I don't know how to get onto the platform," she said kindly, and Harry nodded. "Not to worry," she said. "All you have to do is walk straight to the barrier between platform 9 and 10. Don't stop, and don't be scared you'll crash into it. That's very important. Best do it at a bit of run if you're nervous. Go on, go now before Ron." Okay," said Harry. He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid. He started to walk toward it. People jostled him on the road to platform 9 and 10. Harry walked more quickly. He was going to smash right into that ticket box, and then he would be in trouble, leaning forward on his trolley. He broke into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. He wouldn't be able to stop. The trolley was out of control. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for crash. It didn't come. He kept on running. He opened his eyes. A scarlet scream engine was waiting next to a platform packed with people. A sign overhead with a Hogwarts Express said, "Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron archway where the ticket box had been, with a word of platform 9 3/4 on it. He had done it. Smoke from the engine drifted over the head of the chattering crowd, while cats of every color wound here and there between their legs. Owls hooted to each other in disgruntled sort of over the table and the scrapping of heavy trunk. The first few carriages were already packed with students, some hanging out of the window to talk to their family, some fighting over seats. Harry pushed his trolley off down the platform in search of an empty seat. He passed a round-faced boy who was saying, "Gran, I've lost my toad again." "Oh, Neville," he heard the old woman sigh. A boy with a dreadlocks was surrounded by a small crowd. "Give us a look, Lee, go on." The boy lifted the lid of the box in his arm, and the people around him shrieked and yelled as something inside poked out a long, hairy leg. Harry pressed on through the crowd until he found an empty compartment near on the end of the train. He put Hedwig inside first, and then started to shove and heave his trunk toward the train door. He tried to lift it up the step, but could hardly raise one, and then twice he dropped it painfully on his foot. Once a hand, it was one of the red-haired twin he had followed through the ticket box. "Oh, please." "Yes, please," Harry panted. "Oh, Oi, Fred, come here and help. With the twins' help, Harry's trunk was at last tucked away in the corner of the apartment. Thanks, said Harry, pushing his sweaty hair out of his head. What's that? Said one of the twins, suddenly pointing at Harry. Lightning scar. Flamme, said the other twin. Are you? He is, said the first twin. Aren't you? He added Harry. What? Said Harry. Harry Potter, chorused the twin. Oh, him, said Harry. I mean, yes, I am. The two boys gawped at him, and Harry felt himself going red. Then, to his relief, a voice came floating through the train open door. Fred? George, are you there? Coming, Mom. With a last look at Harry, the twins hopped off the train. Harry sat down next to the window there, half hidden. He could watch the red-haired family on the platform and hear what they were saying. Their mother had just taken out her handkerchief. Ron, you've got something on your nose. The youngest boy tried to jerk out of the way, but she grabbed him and began rubbing the end of his nose. Mom, get off! He wriggled free. The igloo brownie had something on his nose, said one of the twins. Shut up, said Ron. Where's Percy? Said the mother. He's coming now. The oldest boy came striding to sight. He had already changed into his billowing black Hogwarts robe, and Harry noticed a shiny red gold badge in his chest with the letter P on it. Can't stay long, Mother, he said. I'm up front. The prefect have got 2 compartments to themselves. Oh, are you Prefect Percy? Said one of the twins with an air of great surprise. You should have said something. We had no idea. Hang on, I think I remember him saying something about it, said the other twin. Once or twice, a minute, all summer. Oh, shut up, said Percy the Prefect. How come Percy get new robes anyway? Said one of the twins. Because he's a prefect, said Mother fondly. All right, dear. Well, have a good term. Send me an owl when you get there. She kissed Percy on the cheek and he left. Then she turned to the twin. Now, you two, this year you behaved yourself. If I got one more owl telling me you've blown up a toilet or blown up a toilet, we've never blown up a toilet. Great idea. Great idea, though. Thanks, Mom. It's not funny. And look after Ron. Don't worry. The Igloo Ronnie Kent is safe with us. Shut up, said Ron again. He was almost as tall as the twin already, and his nose was still pink where his mother had rubbed it. Hey, Mom, guess what? Guess who we just met on the train? Harry leaned back quickly so they couldn't see him looking. You know, that black-haired boy who was near us in the station? Know who he is? Who? Harry Potter! Harry heard the little girl's voice. Oh, Mom, can I go on the train and see him, Mom? Oh, please! You've already seen him, Ginny, and the poor boy isn't something you goggle at in the zoo. Is he really, Fred? How do you know? Ask him. Saw scar. It's really there, like lightning. Poor dear. No wonder he was alone. I wonder he was ever so polite when he asked how to get on the platform. Never mind that. Do you think he'd remember what you-know-who looked like? Their mother suddenly became very stern. I forbid you to ask him, Fred. No, don't you dare. As though he need reminding of that on his first day at school. All right, keep your hair on. A whistle sounded. Hurry up, their mother said. And the 3 boys clambered to the train. They leant out of the window for her to kiss them goodbye, and their younger sister began to cry. Don't, Ginny. We'll send you a lot of owls. Owl. We'll send you a Hogwarts toilet seat. George! Only joking, Mom. The train began to move. Harry saw the boys' mother waiting in their seat, and their sister half laughing, half crying, running to keep up with the train until it gathered too much speed. Then she fell back and waved. Harry watched the girl and her mother disappear as the train round the corner. House flashed past the window. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He didn't know what he was going to, but it had to be better when he was leaving behind. The door of the compartment slid open, and the youngest red-headed boy came in. Anyone sitting there? He asked, pointing at the seat opposite Harry. Everywhere else is full. Harry shook his head and the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry and then looked quickly out of the window, pretending he hadn't looked. Harry saw he still had a black mark on his nose. Hey, Ron, the twins were back. Listen, we're going in the middle of the train. Lady Jordan got a giant turtle down there. Right, mumbled Ron. Harry, said the other twin, did we introduce ourselves? Fred and George Weasley, and this is Ron, our brother. See you later, then. Bye, said Harry and Ron. The twins slid the compartment door shut behind them. Are you really Harry Potter? Ron blurted out. Harry nodded. Oh, well, I thought it might be one of Fred and George's joke, said Ron. And have you really got, he pointed at Harry's forehead. Harry pulled back his fridge and to show the lightning scar. Ron stared. So that's where Yes, said Harry, but I can't remember it. Nothing, said Ron eagerly. Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else. Wow, said Ron. He sat and stared at Harry for a moment. Then, as though he had suddenly realized what he was doing, he looked quickly out of the window again. Are all your family wizard? Asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Yes, I think so, said Ron. But I think Mom got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him. So, you must know a lot of magic already. The Weasley were clearly one of those old wizarding families, and the pale boy in the Dakian alley had talked about. I heard you went to live with Muggle, said Ron. What are they like? They're like horrible. Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are, though. Wish I had 3 wizard brother. 5, said Ron. For some reason, he was looking gloomy. I'm the 6th in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I've got a lot to live up to. Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy and Charlie was captain of Quidditch. Now Percy Perfect, Fred and George mess around a lot, but they still get a really good mark, and everyone thinks they're really funny. Everyone expects me to do as well as the other, but if I do, it's no big deal, because they did it first. You never got anything new either. With 5 brother, I've got Bill's old robe, Charlie old wand, and Percy old rat. Ron reached inside his jacket and pulled out a fat gray rat, which was asleep. His name's Gabber, and he's useless. He hardly ever wake up. Percy got an owl from my dad for being a prefect, but they couldn't have. I got Scabbard instead. Ron's ear went pink. He seemed to think he said too much because he went back to staring out of the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being able to afford an owl. After all, he had never had any money in his life until a month ago. And he told Ron so, all about having to wear deadly old clothes and never getting proper birthday present. This seemed to cheer Ron up. And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about being a wizard or being about my parents' old Voldemort. Ron gasped. What? Said Harry. You said no, you know whose name? Said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed. I'd have thought you, of all people. I'm not trying to be brave for anything saying the name, said Harry. I just knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got loads of learn, I bet, he added, voicing from the first something that had been worrying him a lot lately. I bet I'm the worst in the class. You won't be. There's a lot of people who come from Muggle families, and they learn quick enough. While they had been talking, the train had carried them out of London. Now they were speeding past field full of cows and sheep. They were quite a full time, watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30, there was a great clattering outside the corridor, and smiling dimple woman slid back the door and said something. Anything off the trolley, dears? Harry, who hadn't any breakfast, leapt to his feet, but Ron's ears went pink again, and he muttered that he brought sandwich. Harry went into the corridors. He had never had any money for sweets with the Dursley, and now that he had a pocket rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could carry, but the woman didn't have Mars bars. What she did have were Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, dribbled best blowing gum, chocolate frog, pumpkin pasty, coloring cakes, licorice wand, and number of other strange things Harry had never seen in his life. Not wanting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the woman 11 silver sickle and 7 bronze nuts. Ron stared as Harry brought all back to the compartment and tipped on the empty seat. Hungry, are you? Starving, said Harry. Taking a large bite of pumpkin pasty, Ron had taken out a lumpy package and wrapped it. There were four sandwiches in there. He pulled one of them apart and said, "She always forget I don't like corned beef. Swap you for one of these," said Harry, looking up a pasty. "Go on. You don't want this. It's all dry," said Ron. "She hasn't got much time," he added quickly. "You know, with 5 of us." "Go on. Have a pasty," said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or indeed had anyone to share it with. It was all so nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry pasty and cakes. The sandwich lay forgotten. "What are these?" Harry asked Ron, holding up a pack of chocolate frogs. "They're not really frog, are they?" He was starting to feel that nothing would surprise him. "No," said Ron, "but see what the card is. I'm missing Agripy." "What?" "Oh, of course you wouldn't know. Chocolate frog have cards inside them. You know, to collect famous witch and wizard. I've got 500. But have I got a Grappy or Palmo?" Harry unwrapped his chocolate frog and picked up the card. It showed a man face. He wore half-moon glass and a long croak nose and flowing silver hair, beard, and moustache. Underneath the picture was named Albus Dumbledore. "So this is Dumbledore," said Harry. "Don't tell me you've never heard of Dumbledore," said Ron. Can I have a frog? I might get a Grappy. Thanks." Harry turned over his card and read, "Albus Dumbledore, currently headmaster of Hogwarts, considered by many the greatest wizard of modern time. Professor Dumbledore is particularly famous for his defeat of dark wizard Gulliver in 1945, for the discovery of the 12 use of dragon blood, and his work on alchemy and his partner, Nicholas Flamel. Professor Dumbledore enjoyed chamber music and timid bowling." Harry turned the card back over and saw to astonishment that Dumbledore's face had disappeared. "He's gone." "Well, you can't expect him to hang around all day," said Ron. "He'll be back." "No, I've got Morgan again, and I've got about 6 of her. Do you want it? You can start collecting." Ron eyed straight at the pile of chocolate frog waiting to be unwrapped. "Help yourself," said Harry. "But the Muggle world, people just stay put in photos." "Do they? What, they don't move at all?" Ron sounded amazed. "Weird." Harry stared as Dumbledore slid back into the picture on his card and gave him a small smile. Ron was more interested in eating the frog than looking at the famous witch and wizard card, but Harry couldn't keep his eyes off them. Soon he had not only Dumbledore and Morga, but Hedges and Woodcraft, Albrecht, Jernit, Sir Parcelus, and Merlin. He finally tore his eyes away from Drusilla, who was scratching her nose to open a bag of Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. "You want to be careful with those," Ron warned Harry. "When they say every flavor, they mean every flavor. You get all ordinary one like chocolate and peppermint and marmalade, but then you can get Spanish, liver, and tripe. George reckoned he had a boggy flavor one once." Ron picked up a green bean, looked at it carefully, and bit into a corner. "There, see? Sprout." They had a good time eating the every flavored beans. Harry got toast, coconut, baked beans, strawberry, curry, grass, coffee, sardine, and was even brave enough to nibble the end of a very funny gray one Ron wouldn't touch, which turned out to be pepper. The countryside was now flying past the window, was becoming wilder. The neat field had gone. Now there were wood, twisting river, and dark green hills. There was a knock on the door of their compartment, and the rounded-faced boy Harry had passed on platform 9 3/4 came in. He looked cheerful. "Sorry," he said, "but have you seen a toad at all?" When they shook their head, he wailed, "I've lost him. He kept getting away from me." "He'll turn up," said Harry. "Yes," said the boy miserably. "Well, if you see him," he left. "Don't know why he's so bothered," said Ron. If I brought a toad, I would lose it as quickly as I could. Mind you, I brought Scabbard, so I can't talk." The rat was still snoozing on Ron's laps. "He might have died, and you wouldn't know the difference," said Ron in disgust. "I tried to turn him yellow yesterday to make him look more interesting, but the spell didn't work. I'll show you. Look." He rummaged around in the trunk and pulled out a very battered-looking wand. It was chipped in place, and something White was splitting out at the end, unicorn hair nearly poking out. Anyway, he had just raised his wand when the compartment door slid open again. The toteless boy was back, but this time he had a girl with him. He was already wearing her new Hogwarts robe. Has anyone seen a toad? Never lost one, she said. She had a bossy sort of voice, lots of bushy brown hair, and rather large front teeth. We've already told him. We haven't seen it, said Ron, but the girl wasn't listening. She was looking at the wand in his hand. Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see it then. She sat down. Ron looked taken aback. All right, he cleared his throat. Oh my god. Sunshine daisies, buttermellow, turn the stupid fat rat yellow. He waved his wand, but nothing happened. Scabbers stayed gray and fast asleep. Are you sure that's a real spell? Said the girl. Well, it's not very good, is it? I've tried a few simple spells just for practice, and it's all worked for me. Nobody in my family magic at all. It was such a surprise when I got my letter, but I was ever so pleased. I've learned all our set book of my heart. Of course, I just hope it will be enough. I'm Hermione Granger, by the way. Who are you? She said all this very fast. Harry looked at Ron, who was relieved to see his stunned face, that he hadn't learned all set of book by heart either. I'm Ron Weasley, Ron muttered. Harry Potter, said Harry. Are you really? Said Hermione. I know all about you. Of course, I got a few extra books for background reading, and you were in modern magical history and rise of fall in the dark arts and great wizarding events of 20th century. Am I? Said Harry, feeling dazed. Goodness, didn't you know? I found out everything I could if it was me, said Hermione. Do either of you know what house you'll be in? I've been asking around, and I hope I'm in Gryffindor. It sounds by far the best. I hear Dumbledore himself was one, but I suppose Ravenclaw wouldn't be too bad. Anyway, we'd better go and look for Neville Toads. You two had better change. You know, I expect we'll be there soon. And she left, talking to the toadless boy with her. Whatever house I'm in, I hope she's not in it, said Ron. He threw his wand back in his trunk. Stupid spell. George gave it to me. Bet he knew it was a dub. What house are your brother in? Asked Harry. Gryffindor, said Ron. Gloom soon seemed to be setting on again. Mum and Dad were in it too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not. I don't suppose Ravenclaw would be too bad, but imagine if they put me in Slytherin. That's the house full. I mean, you know who was in. Yeah, said Ron. He flopped back into his seat, looking distressed. You know, I think the end of Scabber Whisker are a bit lighter, said Harry, trying to take Ron's mind off houses. So, what do your oldest brother do now they've left anyway? Harry was wondering what a wizard did once he'd finished school. Charlie and Roman are studying dragons, and Bill's in Africa doing something for Gridget, said Ron. Did you hear about Gridget? It's been all over Daily Prophet. But I don't suppose you got that with the muggles sometime trying to rob a high security vault. Harry stared. Really? What happened to them? Nothing. That's why it's such a big news. They haven't been caught. My dad said it must have been a very powerful dark wizard to get around Gridget, but they don't think they took anything. That's what's odd. Of course, everyone gets scared when something like that happened, in case you know who behind it. Harry turned this news over in his mind. He was starting to get a prickle of fear every time you know who was mentioned. He supposed this was all part of entering the magical world, but if he had been a lot more comfortable saying Voldemort without worrying. What's your Quidditch team? Ron asked. I don't know any, Harry confessed. What? Ron looked dumbfounded. Oh, you wait. It's the best game in the world, and he was off explaining all about the 4 balls and the position of 7 players, describing a famous game he had been to with his brother and the broomstick he'd like to get if he had the money. He was just talking Harry through the finer point of the game when the compartment doors slid open yet again, but it wasn't Neville, the toadless boy, or Hermione Granger this time. Three boys entered, and Harry recognized the middle one at once. It was a pale boy from Madame Malkin's robe shop. He was looking at Harry with a lot more interest than he had shown back in Diagon. Is it true, he said. They're seeing all down the train that Harry Potter in the compartment. So it's you, is it? Yes, said Harry. He was looking at the other boy. Both of them were thickest and looked extremely mean. Standing either side of the pale boy, they looked like bodyguards. Oh, this is Crabbe, and this is Goily, said the pale boy carelessly, noticing where Harry was looking. And my name Malfoy, Draco Malfoy. Ron gave a slight cough, which might have been hiding a snigger. Draco Malfoy looked at him. Think my name funny to you? No need to ask who you are. My father told me all the Weasley have red hairs, freckle, and more children than they can afford. He turned back to Harry. You'll soon find out some wizarding family are much better than the Porters. You'll soon find out some wizarding families are much better than the other, Porter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. He held his hand to check Harry, but Harry didn't take it. I think I can tell who's the wrong sort are for myself, thanks, he said coolly. Draco Malfoy didn't go red, but a pink tint appeared in his pale cheek. I'll be careful if I were you, Porter, he said slowly. Unless you're a bit politer, you'll go the same way as your parents. They didn't know what was good for them. Either you hang around with riff-raff like the Weasley and the Hagrid, and it will rub off from you. Both Harry and Ron stood up. Ron's face was as red as his hair. Say that again, he said. Oh, you're going to fight us, are you? Malfoy sneered. Unless you get out now, said Harry more bravely than he felt, because Crabbe and Goily were a lot bigger than him or Ron. But we don't feel like living, do we, boys? We have eaten all our food, and when you still have some. Goily reached toward the chocolate frog next to Ron. Ron leapt forward, but before he so much as touched Goily, Goily let out a horrible yell. Scrabber the rat was hanging off his finger. Sharp like little teeth sucked into Goily's knuckle. Crabbe and Malfoy back away, and as Goily swung Scrabber round and round, howling, and then Scrabber finally flew off and hit the window. All three of them disappeared at once. Perhaps they thought there were more rats lurking around the street, or perhaps they heard footsteps, because a second later Hermione Granger had come in. What has been going on? She said, looking at us all sweet up over the floor, and Ron picked up Scrabber by his tail. I think he's been knocked out, Ron said to Harry. He looked closer at Scrabber. No, I don't believe it. He's gone back to sleep. And so he had. You've met Malfoy before. Harry explained about their meeting in Diagon Alley. I've heard of his family, said Ron darkly. They were some of the first to come back to our side after you know who disappeared. They said they've been bewitches. My dad doesn't believe it. He said Malfoy family didn't need any excuse to go over to their dark side. He turned to Hermione. Can we help you with something? You better hurry up and put your robes on. I've just been up the front to ask driver. He say we're nearly there. You haven't been fighting, have you? You'll be in trouble before we even get there. Scabbers have been fighting, not us, said Ron, scowling at her. Would you mind leaving while we change? All right. I only came in here because people outside are behaving very childishly, racing up and down the corridors, said Hermione in a sniffy voice. And you've got dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know? Ron glared at her as she left. Harry peered out of the window. It was getting dark. He could see mountain and forest under a deep purple sky. The train did seem to be slowing down. He and Ron took off their jacket and pulled on their long black robe. Ron were a bit short for him, and you could see his trainer underneath them. A voice echoed through the train. We will be reaching Hogwarts in 5-minute time. Please leave your luggage on the train. It will be taken to the school separately. Harry's stomach flourished with nerve, and Ron, he saw look pale under his freckle. They crammed their pocket with the last of the sweet and joined the crowd through the corridor. The train slowed right down and finally stopped. People pushed their way toward the door and out in the tiny, dark platform. Harry shivered in the cold night air. Then a lamp came bobbing over the head of the student, and Harry heard a familiar voice. First year over here. All right, Harry. Hagrid, big hairy face beamed all over Steve's head. All right there, Harry. Come on, follow me. Any more first year? Make your step now. First year, follow me. Slipping, stumbling, they followed Hagrid down what seemed to be steep, narrow path. It was so dark either side of them that Harry thought there must be thick trees there. Nobody spoke much. Neville, the boy who kept losing his toad, sniffed once or twice. You'll get your first sight of Hogwarts in the sea, Hagrid called over his shoulder just around his bend here. There was a loud ooh. The narrow path had been settling to the edge of a great black lake, perched atop of a high mountain on the other side. Its windows sparkling in starry sky. It was a vast castle with many turrets and towers. No more than 4 on a boat, Hagrid called, pointing a fleet of the little boats sitting on the water by the shore. Harry and Ron were followed into their boat by Neville and Hermione. Everyone in! Shouted Hagrid, who had a boat himself. Right then, forward! To the fleet of the little boat moved off all at once, gliding across the lake, which was smooth as glass. Everyone was silent, staring at the great castle overhead. It towered over them as they sailed nearer to the cliff on which it stood. Head down! Yelled Hagrid as the first boat reached the cliff. They all bent their head, and the little boat carried them through the curtain of ivy which hid a wide opening in the cliff face. They were carried along a dark tunnel, which seemed to be taking them right underneath the castle until they reached a kind of underground harbour. They were clambered out to rocks and pebbles. "Oi, you there! Is this your toad?" said Hagrid, who was checking the boat as people climbed out of them. "Trevor!" cried Neville blissfully, holding out his hand. Then they clambered out of a passageway and then walked after Hagrid lamps, coming out to last on the smooth, damp grass right in the shadow of the castle. They walked up a flight of stone steps and crowned around the huge oak front door. "Everyone here? You there? Still got your toad?" Hagrid raised a gigantic fist and knocked 3 times on the castle door.